It's red all round at this stage, and we have seen a bit of pressure coming through. Resource companies here in South Africa taking a bit of a knock. We've got commodity prices slightly softer, but what's also pushing the likes of BHP Billiton and Anglo American in particular is, of course, the new mining tax that has been proposed in Australia, and I think it's going to take effect 2012-2013, a 40% charge on super profits.
Yes, it is quite a big charge, 40%. Obviously, that's going to impact their earnings going forward. What a super tax is, we'll have to see if it's going to just be normal earnings or only when they exceed a certain amount. So there's a bit more clarification that's probably needed there. But a very big tax that's going to come through. I think people might be overreacting. It still is 18 months away until that starts to take effect, and maybe it doesn't come to full. But at the moment, it is. The market's reacting quite negatively to it. Secondly, also on the Anglo side, the copper price is now at a 3-month low after China increased the reserve requirements for banks in China, so slowing down the amount of lending that happens in China. So that copper price down to a 3-month low, and that's also pushing stocks like Anglo down.
Of course, a double whammy there for commodity prices. But apart from that, we have seen a strengthening dollar as well. Problems in Europe, of course, continue to persist as well. Knee-jerk reactions in terms of what we've been seeing on the commodity front and, of course, the equity front. But at the end of the day, when we look at these kind of levels, when you see gold at very close to $1,180 an ounce, platinum over $1,700 a barrel, and you've got oil so close to $90 a barrel, things have been running quite significantly.
Yes, they have. I think on the gold front, people definitely are still using that as a hedge. Even though the dollar is strong, you can still see that there's investment that's coming into gold, especially with the problems that are in Europe. So I think gold still looking good, and I think maybe they can get beyond $1,200, so something to look for there. We see that the gold miners today are quite strong. GFR over 100 Rand for the first time in a long time. Obviously, on the other side, we have had a very big run in platinum, but at the same time, we saw vehicle sales locally in South Africa up 36%. We saw Ford making really good numbers, so the vehicle sector around the world is starting to grow again. So on that side, platinum still got really good drivers behind it. So even though the prices have run a lot, there is fundamentals pushing gold as well as on the platinum side.
You spoke about China and also trying to cool things off in their economy. We know inflation is on the rise, growth looking at 11.9% for the first quarter of this year. Apart from that, Australia is also trying to cool things down. A 25 basis point interest rates hike is what we saw today, to bringing the interest rate there to 4.5%. We've seen 6 interest rates hikes since October last year. It's so interesting to note that we've seen this mining tax being imposed in Australia, interest rates continuing to rise. What do you think the thinking is regarding the Australian economy, because clearly they are starting to pull back on a lot of the stimulus? Could this perhaps create a concern about recovery levels in Australia going forward?
Well, it could. I think obviously their biggest trading partners for Australia are the Asian countries, and obviously they're getting very big demand from them, and that's why they see that they can increase interest rates, increase taxes as well, because they've got such a big drive from the Asian countries, and obviously it's their biggest trading partner. So in that case, I think they obviously believe that growth in China and in Asia will continue, and therefore they can put these slowing down mechanisms into their economy. But it is quite surprising how heavily they are going to be taxing their miners. They will be the highest taxed mining country in the world once those go through, and definitely growth going forward could lead back into South Africa, which would be positive for us. You see maybe Rio Tinto, Xstrata as well as Billiton moving some of that mining away from Australia and back into some more emerging markets.
Looking at other news out of the resource space, Glencore, of course, under the spotlight, so too is Xstrata. Talks about a possible merger, and I think a lot of people have been speculating as to whether we'll be seeing the merged entity Glencore and Xstrata then eventually bidding for the likes of Anglo American. Do you think that that is something that could happen, but perhaps it will only happen in a very long time, perhaps 1 or 2 years down the line?
I think obviously Glencore owns quite a big chunk of Xstrata already, and if they go through for that merger, they'll be the biggest mining company in the world, and they'll outweigh BHP Billiton. I think it'll take quite a lot of consolidation and take time for that merger to settle down before they then make another acquisition like Anglo American, but it is something that they would look to do if they did get that merger between the two of them done. But I think obviously first have to wait to see, will they be allowed in the competition rules to be able to merge firstly and make a mining company as big as Billiton. Once that's done, they'll obviously have to settle down down and get all of the synergies correct before they go in and then purchase another big miner.
Well,
so
Rob,
it could be still 18 months away.
Yeah, Rob, as you mentioned, I mean, mining companies under pressure today. Do you think that it's a good point to get in when you see BHP Billiton down over 2% and Anglo American as well? We're alluding to the knee-jerk reaction to the mining tax, but at the end of the day, we are expecting incredible growth to come through from Asia, and it's really evident in those latest PMI numbers.
Yes, the PMI numbers and the manufacturing numbers in the States as well. The American market, people keep, forget slightly that they are the biggest economy in the world, and they keep looking at China. But their manufacturing numbers are coming out very good at the moment and starting to improve. And it's not just 1 month's numbers, it's for 6 or 7 consecutive months in a row that their manufacturing has improved. So the American side of things is really big and obviously really improving a lot, as well as the Chinese and the Asian sector. So yes, I think that on very good pullbacks, Anglo's in the low 300s, Billiton anywhere below 240 Rand, you know, they are looking like you could take them up. Billiton still paying very good dividends, and possibly Anglo paying dividends again in September. So I do think that if you're not involved in the market, these are not bad levels to start entering. You don't have to take your whole allotment straight away, but not a bad level to start picking up 1 or 2 stocks.
Rob, very quickly, looking at Netcare that came out with a trading update earlier today, 20 to 30% growth is what they're expecting. No surprise there, given that we know that the pharmaceutical sector is definitely one of those defensive sectors, and healthcare also under the spotlight at this stage.
Yes, I think they are defensive. They've got good annuity income coming through. They often they're making still good money in Europe, and even though Europe's under a lot of pressure, there is going to be some growth slowly coming out of Europe again and out of England. So that sector that is really putting them under a lot of pressure in London starts to look like it's settling. A good defensive stock, and they've still got growth coming through, something that you should look to have in your portfolio.